Welcome to the weekly outlook in the DeFi Dojo. Today is July 21st, and we are going to discuss the markets, the charts, and what we might expect in the week ahead. And we'll start with Bitcoin. It had quite a nice recovery. I've been bullish on Bitcoin even when people were saying it was probably the top, and that's mainly because when you have weekly EMAs that are bullish, you assume up in a bull market. So they never crossed. And if you look at these EMAs here, they never crossed bearish. Now, had they crossed bearish, sure, I would have probably tried to swing short on a retest of those EMAs and try to take it down to the bottom of this channel. And I just want to show you this channel because it was the main driver for this uptrend until it broke above, right? Now you see we kind of held support on top of it for a long time and broke down below. And as soon as that candle closed underneath that line, we fell lower. And you can see now we actually just closed that weekly candle back above it. So technically speaking, we've reclaimed that channel. Now it is kind of subjective, like trend lines aren't something you can like concretely put in place because you can, change where these start and stop from, but kind of wherever I put that, it looks like, see, if I put it there, then we haven't closed over it yet, right? And so maybe that's where it belongs. I don't know. Trend lines are funny like that. So maybe that closed over, maybe it didn't. Really doesn't matter. We are still bullish. We could retest down to the 8 EMA again, which would be somewhere around 64.8. But really, this is a huge bull flag. If you look at the total chart, these red lines here indicating huge bull flag on a high time frame. So as soon as this breaks, this is our greed FOMO zone, and I'll zoom out just so you can see how I drew that, and I'll get rid of those because they're not important anymore. But you just take your top and measure to your bottom, and as soon as you get into this blue level here, this is where things can really start taking off. And so I think it's just a matter of time before we bust through here and start heading to our main targets. And for the total bull cycle, for total cap, I think we could reach as high as 7 trillion, and that would be more than double what our last high at 3 trillion was. If we look at Bitcoin in the same regard, this is our blue levels here on the high time frames, and you can see we've been holding that. And whenever we dipped below, it got bought up pretty quickly. And then here's that channel again. Maybe that's where it is. Maybe it's a little higher, right? So ultimately, until we get above the bull mode line, which is where I've been saying we need to get above for a while now, at 71,320. Until we get over that, I don't think we're going to just blast off. But we're starting to approach it again, right? And we have a downtrend here on this green line and this kind of up channel line here as well. So we're approaching resistance, and we've had some really nice moves over the last couple weeks. So I don't know if we're going to just keep blasting. We might have a little bit more upside left, but then we'll probably maybe flag a little bit before we can try to really bust over this. If we get over this 71,320 mark, I think we're going to see some serious stuff. I think we'll start heading into the main stage of the bull market, and that is still, my targets are all up in here, starting at 103,000 with a maximum of 173,000. If this cycle does get crazy out of hand, we could even see as high as the 2.272, which would be insane. I don't know if that's going to happen. I know previous cycles have gone to the 2.272, but our last cycle did not. It only went to the 1.618. So maybe this cycle goes short of that at the 1.414. I don't know. But what we have to do is play it one level at a time. We're currently butting up our heads against the previous cycle's all-time high, which is this 1 mark right here. So get over that, then we can maybe see that green line. Get over that, then maybe we can start seeing some serious moves. But it's going to hit this resistance again, and it is bullish. This is a flag. I think it'll eventually get over it. I don't know how long it'll take. Timing the market's hard. Knowing your levels and what to look for is easy, right? So that's what we do. If we look at Ethereum, I still like it. It broke this downtrend. We're back into the greed FOMO zone on its chart, which is in between the 786 and the 886, indicated by these blue levels. You can see how oversold on the daily was a great place to buy. And during this time, it was very fearful. Like the whole market was fearful, right? It was hard to buy that. I personally didn't buy that. I've allocated enough of ETH for myself. after converting a lot of Bitcoin over several months now. Speaking of the ETH Bitcoin chart, it's starting to become annoying. It's now bearish on the weekly, so it looks like we might have to retest that 0.5 level again. However, it's not really bothersome to me since we're still in the same range that we've been in since October of 2023. So I don't really mind just hanging on to my Ethereum. It's not like Bitcoin is making more than Ethereum is. They're both pretty much in line with each other here over the last, almost a year now going on. So I'm just going to keep being patient. You can see that MACD is rising, and there's still time that is needed for it to get up over this center mark here and here before it can really start moving. So another retest of that 0.05 level might be in order. And there, if that's where you want to convert some more Bitcoin to ETH, then that might be a good place to do it. If we look at total 3, it's in a flag as well. That little level there is the golden pocket of the last retrace, and I shared those charts already in the Weekly Outlook channel. But we are bullish again here on total 3. So you can see that those EMAs never really crossed bearish. They came very close, and we recovered the entire market back and forth in just the nick of time. So we could see a retest of these weekly 8 EMAs this week, or head up and touch the trend and then maybe test it, but ultimately we need to break the trends. That's what's going to be important. Break these trends and we can see things go higher. The main trend for Ethereum is actually going to be like way up here, and so we could potentially see somewhere around 38 this week, or we come down and retest. And if you look, these are the retests I'm talking about. When you get these 8 EMA crosses on the daily or weekly, whenever we retest that 8 EMA, it is a good place to buy, right? Buy. If we see it again, it'll be a retest of the downtrend again with the 8 EMA in the same spot. You want to buy there as well. You can see we did close up over the pivot now for 2 days straight this weekend. That's another good sign. 35.17 was that mark we had to get over, right? And now we got over it. So I would expect to see that hold. Maybe we kind of venture around that for a couple days while that EMA catches back up. Or we could just continue higher. 37.67 is the next major spot to see for Ethereum, along with that main downtrend. If we go to equities, looking at the dollar, it did get a nice bounce last week, back over that 382. But ideally, this is still turning bearish. MACD is starting to creep down into the lower central area, and the RSI is below, the average is not. So we could see like a bounce retest of those EMAs. This week is the week of the dollar. Like, it needs to prove itself and get back over those EMAs before they cross bearish. If they do cross bearish this week, then I would expect to fall down to the 102.75 level. If we can recover, then I would expect maybe another move back up to R1 and a retest of the downtrend. Equities are coming down from their wedges slash channels. We spotted divergence on that last week, and we had a nice SPY put that I took advantage of. Hopefully some of you did as well. And now I think we could potentially see a test of the R3 on the weekly. You see how the 8 EMA is lined up right with it. That would be a nice support level, as well as the 1.414 where the wedge bottom intersects as well. So we could see anywhere down to 54.8250 and back as high as the top of the wedge again. So this is a pretty big range still. I would not attempt a swing short until we break below the wedge, and it might actually be better to long the bottom of this and try to get back up towards this 1.618 because everything is still very bullish. NASDAQ, kind of the same scenario. There's a lot of confluence down here at the R2/1.272, 21 EMA, all on the weekly. There's 3 things down there. So should we start falling, I think I would probably rather scalp short QQQ than SPY this week. I think it has a lot more room to run down than SPY does. So if I was going to choose a short and we started looking bearish at the beginning of the week, this is what I would choose to do. Should we reclaim it, we could go to the daily and see that we have daily EMAs potentially crossing. So tomorrow is kind of the day, right? Like, if it can recover, cool, we'll go long. If it can't, cool, we'll short the retest on the daily and try to bring it back down to this 1.272. You got the pivot in between for your first TP, and that's kind of how I would play those. Dow Jones, if this stayed up here, I would probably been a little more bullish on equities this week, but because it had such a big doji candle, this is like a gravestone, that looks like a huge rejection off the 1.414 right now, and the MACD did not cross up yet. So we'll see what happens this week. If we do get that, MACD cross there and we can close at least up above where we are this week, then maybe we can try to swing long some value plays, potentially, because then we'll likely come up and hit that 1.618. All right, so stablecoin dominance, I think I covered that. We could retest the 8 EMA or see as low as that S2. If that breaks down, then we're heading really far down here, which would be really bullish for Bitcoin. All right, I think that covers it all. AVAX had a nice move this week, but it is still bearish, technically speaking. Below center on the MACD, below center on the RSI, and in between bearish EMAs. So I think we're probably going to bounce around in between these this week for AVAX. A lot of people might be just now getting in long. I think that might be a little bit too overzealous. We're above this line, so maybe we can see 32 again. But if we fall back below 32, then we're likely headed back down to the daily 8 EMA and $30 level, and that would be a probably better place to long than where we are right now. And then your TP would be the 0.5 right here. Sol is another big one because it is the first to break its downtrend. Bitcoin and Ethereum are still under their trends, and Sol is well above it. It's had an insane week. That's a huge candle. What's the percentage on this? This is pretty crazy. That's a 25% week. So Solana is still in, and excuse me. We could get the retest back down to the 886 around 174.77. That might be a good place to try longing that bullish retest and head higher, or we could see as low as the 8 EMA again, which is around 161. So 161 to 174 is the zone we could retest, and try that long potentially for a swing or a scalp. I think that covers all the majors, and so if anybody has any chart requests, please feel free to put them in the chat now, or any questions. Anything I've gone over might have been confusing. All right, let's look at Meta. Where are you? There you are. All right, weekly pivots are dumb. Okay. So that is bearish divergence on the weekly. I don't know why that's there. That's useless. This is now... I think eventually this is probably going to get back up to that trend line. So that's tough. It's right in the middle of a zone. So there's really no telling short term where that's going to go. So far it's got 21 EMA support. EMAs are still bullish on the weekly. Daily just turned bearish. And you can see that that's happened several times before. There's still a gap down here that never got filled, down to 406. So perhaps we might make a journey back down there. And when that gap fills, that's where I'd probably try a long. Other than that, this is a lot of choppiness in a large range. So the only thing you can really do for a short-term trade is take that trend and short that to the golden pocket or 786. Use that 382 at 489.67 as your stop loss because the 8 EMA is there as well. If we do get back up over that, then you'll want to try a long, and you'll want to run things the other way. So wherever that bottoms, you'll want to try to do that trend. Let's just assume that's a bottom. We don't really know yet, but then you'll want to take it to TP up here because this is choppiness, right? So you want to play the chop. You want to buy at the levels that indicate buy, and then sell back at the levels that indicate sell in that chopping range, until it fills the gap or starts getting a bullish EMA cross on the daily again to take it up to the 1.272. Choppy markets are not easy or fun. Tesla, I like my Tesla, but it did break down below the trend again. So pullbacks are in order, it looks like. Yeah, that's the main downtrend. So it did give us a close above, another close above with a doji, and now it looks like a return. So we could see us, back down to the weekly 8 EMA, which is at the even 200 mark. Oh, look at that pivot. All right, so we got to hold 200. Look how that lines up very nicely. So 216 is the mark, and 215 is the 8 EMA. So that's the level we have to hold. And it looks like we might see that again because there's things pointing at that same location. Let's see what the fibs tell us. This is going to look like a lot of lines, but just focus on this one. And there's a 382 right there. So that wouldn't be bad. So we could even fall just shy of the pivot, a little lower, around 209, and still be bullish because we want to see the sign of a strong trend, right? I mean, we could even hold this one where we have two fibs in the same spot around 231, 232. Could hold that level even. Break that level down, we're going to head here. Hold that level, we'll bounce and break the trend and head higher. But this range down in here, 209 to 215, is where I'd want to see ultimate support for them. If that breaks down, then we might be in trouble. And we might be rejecting trend again. MNT. That is not it. MNT. That's a nice bullish candle. So we got a weekly close above both EMAs. They are still technically bearish, but I like seeing that move through both of them. If we break 90 cents, then we can keep going higher because that's the weekly pivot. What did I point an arrow at there? Apparently the top. Hopefully that's what I said. 0.5 is right there too. All right, so we got to break 90 to 94. That's going to be the main resistance. And if that breaks, then we can see the golden pocket in the 786 up here from 105 to 123. If we go to the daily and look for a downtrend, that could be where we retest. So trend's broken. Above daily pivot, that's a good sign. This is probably going to monkey around for a little bit, at least a day or two, and then might get a retest of the pivot with the 8 EMA or the 382 at 83.87. So this range down here is kind of where you want to maybe DCA a buy-in, knowing that we could see as low as that 21 EMA in the downtrend, which seemed to line up really nicely with each other. That would be your ultimate stop loss down here around 79 cents. And if it fails below that, then that's short. Stays above it, we're long. So 79 cents is kind of like your bear bull line with all these levels in between where you could try to DCA or average into a long on it. Link. All right, back into the EMAs. It's more of a wedge than a flag. Let's see here. We got like that and like that. So it's kind of an ugly wedge. It's not a very nice looking wedge. Or it's a down channel. No. I don't know, man. Link is all over the place. This freaking thing. Doesn't really give you much. But that, it looks like a wedge to me, but it also could be like a head and shoulders. I tend to try to ignore head and shoulders in crypto because I think that they can manipulate it to look like that, and then they send it higher. In bull markets last cycle, I saw so many head and shoulders that just ripped high, faking people out because head and shoulders is like the most well-known chart pattern, so everybody looks at that. Yeah, I did have a nice trade on H bar. I took profits there. I don't know what it looks like now. What did it probably fell pretty hard during that dip today. I don't know if it recovered. Where is it? I mean, it's back where it's close to where I sold it, so it's not bad. I don't know if I probably would have gotten screwed up at 30x though on that dip if I didn't sell. So I'm happy I did. Let's see. So we got to get it back above 1628. That's really all it comes down to. Until it gets back over that 0.5, I'm not super excited about it. Yeah, so yeah, we got to break that trend. We got to get back over that 0.5, reclaim R1, and then maybe we can head to the golden pocket finally. Like, I think it needs ETH, right? So if ETH is struggling against Bitcoin, Link is struggling. And we saw when ETH, did really well for a week or two, Link was doing really well as well. So we really just need that ETH takeover, and I think Link will really benefit from that. And we're just not quite there yet, it seems. Matic, kind of the same situation probably. Like Matic is just diluted down with all these other layer 2s. So I mean, maybe I'd redraw the triangle again. I don't know. It doesn't seem to want to break out yet, and I'm just gonna kind of wait until it does, if it ever does. So maybe that's the new triangle, right? So it just got bigger. And we're at the bottom of it, so maybe this is a great place to buy back in. It hasn't yet hit oversold on the weekly since way back here, and this is bearish. So until this actually shows me something, maybe we reclaim 60 cents. Okay, maybe we can have a little more confidence in it. You can see how 60 cents is kind of the bull bear line here. If we just go like let me find a good 60 cent spot, like right there. Right, so below it we go down, close above it we go up, held, bounce, fell below, further downside, closed above, upside. So you see how that kind of works. So if we can reclaim that 60 cent mark and close a weekly candle above it, all right, let's try it long with some stops below that S1 on the weekly and try to take this back up to the dollar mark maybe. We'll see. Until then, layer 2s are kind of meh. I think all of them need Ethereum to do well, just like Link, right? So until Ethereum starts looking like it's better than Bitcoin, then these will start becoming good plays. All right, so if that is all and there are no more questions, going once, going twice, thank you all for being here, and I will post the recording in the Weekly Outlook channel, and I hope to see y'all again throughout the week. Have a good one. Bye.